This is a crisis where there are, in fact, domestic enemies of the Constitution, and they happen to be the President and the Vice President. Domestic enemies of the Constitution of the kind I swore to defend against. I don't think Johnson was a domestic enemy of the Constitution. He violated it when he felt he needed to, when he wanted to in an emergency. And I don't think he meant to change the government. Cheney did mean to change the government. That's very clear if you've been reading the books about his views going back to 1971-72. Watergate, he thought, was a total usurpation of power by the Congress, and a challenge to the president that had to be cut back because the president should have the power. He said it then, at the time, written by David Addington, who's now his chief of staff. So he's believed this for a long time. He had an agenda when he came in, which was just like as strong as Rumsfeld's agenda to reshape the army, or the neocons' agenda to remake the Middle East. And Cheney's agenda was to remake the U.S., among other things. And he's been very successful. And there's a ways to go if we let him. I would say that there is nothing more important than averting a war with Iran. If the Democrats choose not to get in the way of that, because they would lose the support of AIPAC, which would then go against them, the Israeli lobby, which I was told in Washington last week by person after person, was the lobbying wedge that had demanded that they remove from the authorization bill an amendment last March that said he must come back to Congress before he attacked Iran. And Nancy Pelosi removed that from the bill after lobbying by AIPAC and senators who were close to AIPAC. Said Israel wouldn't like that and it wouldn't be good for the Democrats. If they did that, she took it out. Now, I don't blame politicians for thinking about the next election. But thinking only about the next election, we did not elect these people to Congress for the sole purpose of getting reelected. And that's what a lot of them think of. They will do good for the country, they will do what needs to be done to the extent that it is not inconsistent with their being reelected, or it helps them get reelected. So health, energy, the environment, that's good. People like that, the first 100 hours. But getting in the way of the president for national security, too many people will back away from that, starting with AIPAC, but it isn't only AIPAC, of course. And on Iran, it is very heavily AIPAC. But on Iraq, it's a lot of other people. I said something that's the utmost heresy to this guy on the Hill. I said, this is a time when you should be prepared to risk a Democratic majority. And the first thought of that couldn't be more absurd. It's like telling him that he should start eating human flesh or something. It was just, risk your majority, risk the chairmanship, risk the offices, risk our ability to do good and so forth, which they've done so much of in the last 6 months. Inconceivable. But I said, this year is the last year of this presidency. Congress is in there now to protect the Constitution. And frankly, if they attack Iran, and Iran strikes back against Israel, against our troops in Iraq on a big way, against our ships in the Persian Gulf, and maybe a terrorist attack in this country in retaliation for hitting 2,000 targets in Iran, it'll be like another terrorist attack, and it'll be a different country. And it really won't matter that much who has the majority in Congress, because Congress won't be worth anything. It won't matter who's in Congress after the next one, if they let this go on, and if they let these practices be institutionalized another year. So I think this is the time then for people to show some moral courage, and and that means citizens, to change our lives, change what we're doing, business as usual, and demand of our representatives in Congress. I don't think direct appeals to the president, frankly, will do much. But to tell people in Congress, especially those who are up for election, you will be fired. We will do our best. Campaigning for your opponents, primary opposition, donating to your opponents, denouncing you, if you don't start doing what you were put there to do and what you swore to do, which was what you should be doing, which is defending the Constitution against direct assault by the executive branch of this government. It's been going on for 6 years. And averting a war in Iran. Frankly, I think the odds are against averting. That's my opinion. The odds favor an attack on Iran, more likely than not, in the next year. I believe whatever we do, that's the situation we're in. But it's not certain. And I think it's our obligation to take that probability that it won't happen, that it can be stopped, and make it larger to the extent we can. It should not happen with our complicity in the way that it's happening with the complicity of Congress right now, and I mean Republicans as well as Democrats. The Republicans are violating their oath also, not just the Democrats. So we're in danger. Our Republicans in danger, and the world is in danger of an attack on Iran. I didn't say casually $100 a barrel, $200 a barrel oil if Iran closes the Straits of Hormuz, sends cruise missiles over Saudi Arabian oil fields, does various things. That's what the prediction is. I'm not an expert. They say $100, $200 a barrel. That does quite a bit to the world, actually. And so there's a lot at stake here. This vote yesterday should not pass unnoticed by us. And so it's up to us. Going back to my trial, my lawyer said when I took the stand after 4.5 months in court, from February on, and now it was my turn to be on the stand, and I was there for 4.5 days. So my lawyer, Charlie Nissen from Harvard, said, just before I went up on the stand, he said, Dan, the important thing to remember is to be calm, be relaxed, be as calm as you can. Just remember, it all depends on you. And that's what I would say to Congress, that's what I say to us, citizens, it depends on us, and let's do it.